this video, the top 10 best films about viruses. They will be presented in order, in my opinion closer to the first place that I liked more. And so let's go. World War Z is a post-apocalyptic action movie based on Max Brooks' novel World War Z. The film is directed by Mark Forster, starring, as well as the film's producer, Brad Pitt. On June 20, 2013 it was shown as the opening film of the 35th Moscow International Film Festival. One day, the family of a former union employee, Jerry Lane, becomes an involuntary witness to the attacks of the living dead. And now the man has to go to South Korea to investigate the causes of the epidemic. The film was shot based on the novel of the same name by American science fiction writer Max Brooks, but much has changed with adaptation. For example, a measured story turned into an action-packed action movie, and slow zombies became very fast and dangerous. The personality of the protagonist is also changed for the sake of promoted to the main role of Brad Pitt. Well, look, to be glad of how many people who are not indifferent and kind around, it is thanks to them that the hero manages to survive even in the conditions of a total apocalypse. Epidemic is an American disaster film directed by Wolfgang Peterson, based on a book by Richard Preston Holtzone. Epidemiologists are trying to stop the most dangerous virus that the military has developed. The latter know how to make the vaccine. It is only necessary to find the first carrier. It turns out to be an ordinary monkey, but it disappears without a trace. In the solid Hollywood drama directed by Wolfgang Peterson, the culprit of the pandemic is not some crazy scientist, but a completely respectable state laboratory. And wonderful actors play here: Dustin Hoffman, Kevin Spacey, Morgan Freeman. But watch, to admire those who work tirelessly so that as few people as possible suffer from the virus. The Andromeda Strain is a science fiction feature film directed by Robert Wise in 1971. Screen adaptation of the novel of the same name by Michael Crichton. Through the fault of the military, a deadly virus of extraterrestrial origin enters Earth. A team of scientists arrives in the contaminated area to find out how to counter the epidemic. The film was directed by Robert Wise based on a book by Michael Crichton, the legendary science fiction writer, creator of Jurassic Park and the Wild West. And like many other films about epidemics, the Andromeda Strain does not have a superhero saving the whole world, and the psychology of characters comes first. For those viewers who think Wise's picture is not modern, there is a good miniseries of the same name from 2 episodes, the producers of which were the brothers Ridley and Tony Scott. Well, look, to mentally thank scientists who are calmly and without panic doing their job, even by trial and error. Infection is a catastrophe film directed by Steven Soderbergh with Matt Damon, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, Lawrence Fishburne, Marion Cotillard. The plot tells of a virus that spreads through fomites, attempts by medical researchers and public health officials to detect and control the disease, the loss of public order in a pandemic, and ultimately the discovery of a vaccine that curbed the spread of the virus. A deadly virus of unknown origin is rapidly spreading across the planet. The development of a vaccine is still a long way off, and the general panic is fueled by rumors that one unscrupulous journalist is spreading on the internet. Thriller Steven Soderbergh at one time greatly scared the audience with his realism. And recently, many believe that what is happening on the screen painfully resembles the scenario of the spread of the coronavirus epidemic. Even the symptoms that appear in those infected with a new disease are similar to those shown in the film. Why watch, to see how important it is to turn on critical thinking and think independently, and not succumb to the charm of charismatic, but often incompetent, personalities. For example, one of the heroes of the film warms his hands on an advertisement for a medicine that does not help. The train to Busan, South Korean fiction horror film in 2016 director, screenwriter and animator of Samuel Ho. The film takes place during the zombie apocalypse on the train of the Korean high-speed railway. The film has a prequel, the cartoon, Seoul Station, released in 2016 and also filmed by Yoon San-ho. An epidemic of viruses has spread in the country that can turn people into living dead. At the same time, a successful businessman with his little daughter is locked up in everything going to the city of Busan. The dynamic Korean action movie directed by Yoon San-ho was liked by viewers and critics. Many people see in the film an acute social and political implication that people are ready for radical survival. This year a sequel is due out, unless, of course, the release is postponed due to a real pandemic. To see an example of how the characters of the film can see how important it is in any dangerous situation to cooperate, to exchange information in a timely manner and to keep each other up to date. Sometimes some people are afraid that they can do low and unforgivable things. Dawn of the Dead is a 2004 horror science fiction film directed by Zack Snyder, the remake of the 1978 film of the same name by George Romero. The debut film of the director in the full-length movie. Romero's original script was redesigned for the remake by screenwriter James Gunn. The film describes the fate of a group of people after the zombie apocalypse, defending themselves against a horde of living dead in a barricaded shopping center. Nurse Anne woke up and saw that her daughter had turned into a zombie and bit her husband. She had to flee her own home, and her legs brought her to the supermarket, as did a few other surviving people. And the battle began, not for life, but for death between them and zombies, who really want fresh meat. A remake of the masterpiece of George A. Romero. Virtually no flaws with which such paintings abound. With excellent acting, soloed by Sarah Polley and Wing Rames, which is no wonder with their starred status. With many quotes from horror maestro movies and original finds like A Zombie Baby. And the debut made this movie, which cannot but please. Resident Evil is a scary horror film that is a movie adaptation of the eponymous Japanese computer game developed by Capcom. The premiere of Resident Evil in the United States took place on March 15, 2002, in Russia, July 18 of the same year. The plot is built around Alice, who lost the memory of a girl who ended up in a secret laboratory of Umbrella Corporation called Antel. In the laboratory, after the leak of a dangerous virus, all employees die due to computer intelligence. Exploring the underground premises with the team, the main character discovers that all the dead turned into carnivorous zombies. The slogans of the picture: Secret Experiment, Deadly Virus, Fatal Mistake, Survive the Horror. Unknown kidnapped the development of a secret underground laboratory of Umbrella Corporation, and before leaving, broke a test tube with a dangerous virus that instantly infected all employees of the complex. The supercomputer that regulates life at the station detected a biological threat, launched deadly gas into the laboratory and shut down all the doors, but a detachment of special forces who received a directive to investigate the situation disables its protection, and thereby releases hordes of zombies. Days Later is a British horror film directed by Danny Boyle, scripted by Alex Garland. Starring Cillian Murphy and Naomi Harris. The film takes place in the UK against the backdrop of a pandemic highly contagious virus that turns people into crazy killers. The plot is built around the 4 survivors trying to escape. Courier Jim wakes up after a coma and discovers that the whole country is in a terrible epidemic. The infectious virus turns people into aggressive killers. In the post-apocalyptic thriller of Danny Boyle, the virus acts not so much on the body as on the psyche. This allowed the director to show how the characters face the darkest sides of human nature face to face. The theatrical version of the film ends well, but there are several more endings that turned out to be less optimistic. Why watch to keep the best human qualities in yourself even in the most difficult times? But at the same time, remember that this is not the case with everyone. Monkeys is an American science fiction movie, a 1995 dystopia directed by Terry Gilliam with Bruce Willis and Madeleine Stowe in the lead roles. The film was inspired by The Runway by French director Chris Marker. The criminal James Cole is sent to the past to collect information about a dangerous incurable virus that has already destroyed most of the world's population, and forced all remaining to hide under the ground. Director Terry Gilliam even confused fans of his work, forcing to doubt whether it was clearly seen. Viewers will have to understand on their own whether the events of the film actually occur or only in the head of the protagonist. While look to reflect on the shortcomings of a consumer society that is slowly moving itself closer to destruction. The director seems to be hinting, everything in life is already predetermined, it is useless to change something. Or maybe not, but everyone can decide for himself, having watched the film to the end. I Am a Legend is an American post-apocalyptic film of 2007 about people infected with a virus that changed them beyond recognition. Director, Francis Lawrence. The film is a film adaptation of the novel of the same name by Richard Matheson. Scientists are inventing a promising cure for cancer that mutates into a deadly virus. Military doctor Robert Neville is the only one who survives the epidemic. A man spends his days in a deserted city populated by either zombies or vampires, but leaves no hope to create an antidote. The film is based on the novel of the same name by Richard Matheson, although the original story was a little different. The central character was played by the talented Will Smith, and the audience loved this role of the actor along with the image from Men in Black. Why watch to reflect on the moral side of science? According to the plot, all attempts by mankind to fight the infection have failed, and the main character has to face the nightmare of loneliness, so the film should be taken as one big warning.